Hello again and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a bit different. It's going to be a bit more hands-on. This is designed for anyone who is trying to revise or get on to learning outcomes for a particular topic. We're going to be focusing in this video on the pre-registration assessment framework. The idea of this is to show methods that can be used to set a plan. And I mentioned it in the other video, where the link will be somewhere on the top here, that after I failed, I set out a plan, and the planning does make a huge difference, because when you're worrying about all the things you have to cover, when you've actually set out a plan in due time, that can really help facilitate the process, because you're seeing everything there laid out and you're approaching it in a systematic way. Few side notes with this. So the earlier you start, the better. Obviously, if you start your planning phase early, you can track your progress from an earlier stage, and you can adapt that as you see fit. So definitely, if you know, this might be apply more for people who've got later assessments. The other thing is, you can get so engrossed in the process of planning, and part of the reason of this video, hopefully if the templates are useful, can be shared. If that is of use to you, let me know. Is that these things can take time, and if you can have some aids in the process, great, because what you don't want to do is end up spending so much time in the planning that you're fixating on tiny details and bells and whistles that you don't need. So the point of this is to give you an idea, to set the scene, to see if there's anything that you can use from it, either the same thing, or to adapt it in a way that you see fit. But the key here is planning. Planning is going to make a big difference in how you achieve your goals when it comes to learning and revision. So I hope you enjoy, and without taking up too much time, too much more of your time, I'm going to zoom in onto the screen here so that you can see what it is I've done and what the options are there to aid you in your learning. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is have a look at the GPhC website and the pre-registration manual there, the registration assessment framework, if you're not already familiar with it. Now, there is a breakdown here about the general syllabus, and this can apply to, it doesn't matter what topic you're doing, but we're focusing on the pre-registration pharmacy exam. So the first thing is, whether it's lecture notes or however else you are receiving the information about what you're going to be assessed on, you need that in front of you to know how to set a plan, because you're going to need to set a plan with how you're going to approach the revision. Now here we've got the registration assessment framework. Hopefully for those trainee pharmacists, you're familiar with this. And key number one is, the sooner you start all of this, the better, because it gives you more time to plan and to adapt the plan if you need to. So it's broken down in separate sections here. Of note is the weighting topics. So high weighting covers 60 to 70% of the exam questions, meaning most of your revision should be focused on that, and most of your time should be focused on revising these topics. Now, if you look on the website, this might be enough for a lot of people as it is, and it is available as a PDF as well. So it is available also as a PDF directly, so you can download the framework as a PDF. And for some people that might be sufficient, and they just tick them as they go along if they are confident with their technique. And the key here is finding something that works for you. Now what I have done, or just wanted to show you to give an idea if you are at the planning stage, is I've copied that into Excel. And the reason you copy it into Excel is simply because while it's in a separate format, you can adapt that revision a bit easier. And so you can just separate them by the topic, so you can just have a look at the low weighted topics first, for example, if you wanted to have a particular plan about how you wanted to do the revision. And it's quite flexible, because it's a table. It's quite flexible in how you approach it, so you could just have a look at the high weighted topics and then set target dates for each topic after knowing it. But the key thing here is getting to know the syllabus, getting to know what sort of questions they're asking from you, because it can be very daunting at the start if you don't have any idea and you're just covering content and you've got no direction with it. So I mentioned in my video about how when I failed, when I approached it the second time round, I was far more systematic. So that is the key here is I've just put it on Excel, and for some people that will be adequate as it is. You just add the columns as you need to, so you've got a target date of completion, and then you can tick box it when you feel that you've completed it. And just remember to focus less time on the low weighted areas and more time on the higher weighted areas. Now, the way that the GPhC website has it is set up in a way where you could make it more complex or more in-depth if you wish to, by adapting the framework, because it then goes on to separate everything by the therapeutic area as well, and so it doesn't necessarily follow a way where you can follow a clear syllabus step by step in a breakdown way as another framework might have it. But whether you want to copy that in Excel and then focus again, break it down, so section 2, because this is where a lot of your content will be, then you could do that as well and follow the same idea. Now, there are limits to each program that we do use. So Excel's limit is it's not always that friendly when it comes to actually using the text in the data or bullet points and things like that. So this did take quite a bit of formatting to get it that way. But then you can always filter by section, filter by target date if you've set yourself targets, and this is useful. The reason I say that earlier you start the better is because if you have training days set with your let's say you're only just starting your pre-reg and you've got training days coming up, you can try and plan this in advance so that your training day coincides, so that you've covered the material before the actual training day, so you can really assess what you've learned rather than approaching everything for the first time. So yeah, this is a nutshell of using it in Excel. And the other thing I wanted to show you that might give an idea if you do have time to train with is the OneNote application, which I'm using as well. And this is just a slightly more in-depth version where you can tick off the columns. But again, because I am importing it from Excel, it has its own limitations as well. But the reason I wanted to show this is because of this collapsible feature. So you could spend that time, let's say before you actually start your revision, before you even start your training year, you could have a look at getting some of the reference sources ready, so that when you do start your revision and you're looking at, for example, the action to take if a colleague's conduct, for example, this is one of the first assessment topics, it gives you a link straight to the website for that. So, I mean, the key here is trying to find a means to get your revision where you're going to find your data in one place, and a lot of that is going to be in the BNF or in some of the key resources that you're going to have throughout the year. But the idea is once it's all in one place, you will have it's kind of a psychological edge that you know that you're ready to tackle your revision in that way. The other useful note, and of course there are different apps for this and each has its pros and cons. The other useful note, I tried to put questions in here, but as I mentioned, because I've imported this from Excel, it's a lot less flexible, so I've just created a new section there, is that you can then put questions for each section, and the collapsible headers is a brilliant tool for questions and answers in particular, because you can ask yourself that question and then see if you know the answer before opening what the answer is. And so this is very useful way, particularly for questions. It could be for something else. So similar to how there's a menu here that you can open and close, it's a similar idea. But with questions it's very important because you can have loads of different topics and see that you understand each one when it comes to your more thorough in-depth case studies or in-depth looking at a topic like cardiovascular, and just see, do you know what the different conditions are, do you know what the side effects of a particular medicine are, and so you list that and then you put the answers underneath. Anyway, this has just been a very brief overview as to what can be done, and the idea is if you haven't started and you're early in the year, the planning preparation is essential because it's a marathon, it's not a race. The year can be a very long year, and so you're not trying to just burn out from the start, and having a paced plan for it will make things a lot easier when it comes down to it. I hope you have found this video useful. If you find the Excel sheet or the OneNote templates that I've been using useful, please let me know, and I can find a way to share that with you. But again, any comments, anything that you use that helps for yourselves, please do share it in the comments. You are a community of future pharmacists, hopefully, or whatever the profession you want to use is, and so use the community around you to try and find the best approaches. You might have colleagues that have an approach that works particularly well for you. In any case, in the meantime, if you did like this video, please do like, share, subscribe, comment your feedback, and hopefully I'll see you for more future videos soon.